So I think I've started. I've started now. So hello everyone. It's Ayomide again. So we are here to commence our stream today. That's HTML class. So Bolo will be giving us a summary of what we did in our last session. So we will not miss anything. So you can start now. Uh, okay.
So guys, yeah.
So yeah, today we are going to be um coming. So So today we are going to be basically learning about HTML. Already created a note for us to do, like to guide our session. So we'll just be using that. Commute my network. You guys can see my screen, bro. So this is basically what we have for today. So we are going to be learning HTML introduction and the basic structure of HTML. So first off, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So we discussed about this last time, but it's okay if we can like come back and see it again. So it basically serves as the skeleton and the structure of every website. That's what HTML does. HTML tells the browser what content is. That's heading, paragraphs, image. I'm very sure that if you, a lot of us already use or are using websites nowadays for a lot of things. And part of the websites that we use, we usually see text there, we see different contexts, we see different images, we see different videos. So all of those information are basically generated or provided by HTML. It does not handle styling and does not handle interactivity. So HTML has its partners, its co-partners basically. It has CSS and it has JavaScript. So I'm going to be using a real one analogy here of building a house. So every one of us know that whenever we want to build a house, we do the walls, we do, let me just say in Nigeria now, we want to build house, we do foundation, we buy blocks, we buy cement, we do concrete, I what they just call them, I know sabi. So we do all of those stuff, sha. So let's just say HTML, that's like the HTML part of building the house. Then CSS now comes in when you want to style the house, you want to put chandelier, you want to put furniture to make the house look nice. You know, everybody have their different aesthetics and how their house or their so all of those things come to place with CSS. Then JavaScript. What JavaScript does is that it adds interactivity and functionality to all of those things that we have created. So, for example, we have doorknobs, we have light bulbs, we have all of those stuff. They only work if our JavaScript is working very well. That means, okay, I switch on the bulb, it works. That's the interactivity of it. It's not just rigid and it's not doing anything. It's working. That's JavaScript is working there. So in real world now, let's say we are talking about it in website terms now. So HTML is the structure, the content, and everything that is being given to the browser to display. Then CSS is basically the styling that you have already created. Then JavaScript is basically like maybe buttons and how everything works together. So maybe you click a button and something happens on your website. JavaScript controls. So we'll continue from that. So now we have a quick history of JavaScript. So JavaScript, I mean, sorry, HTML. HTML was created by Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. So it was used to share documents between scientists at that time. In 1991, that's when it was created by Tim Bern. Is it Berners now? Okay, whatever. Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. So that was like the genesis of HTML. So now let's go into details now. In our last class, we created files for our HTML. So we are going to be going into details and breaking how HTML is structured. So let me create a folder for the class. Or I created one before. Just use that one again. Okay, here it is. So this was what I created in our last class where I talked about folder structures. So we just use what we have created. Okay, so I'll be clearing out all of this code. Then we'll use the file that I've created inside this HTML folder. So we have this file here. So what we have in this place now is this. You can see that we have this the basic template for HTML, like the template that must always be there whenever you are doing any HTML related project or you have an HTML file. The first thing that you do is this. So all of this now we have this HTML lang English. That's the language at which you are writing your HTML code in. You want it to know that it's English. And we have get tag just basically holds information that gives your browser how to display the information that has been put there is the head. This head tag, that's what it contains, like the title, the meta name, and this meta chassis. So all of these are information meant for the browser and how it is to display the information that we have in this particular HTML file. Then we now have the body tag. This body tag, what the body tag does is that it basically displays everything you write inside it. So this body tag is basically like the messiah in this context. It's the one that brings whatever you have put in there to the browser. It's the one that displays them. So anything I type within this body tag is going to be displayed in our browser. So now let's put it into practice. So all of those things that we have there, if you want to write it from your like by yourself, it's not a bad idea. But then we already have a shortcut to which we write all this stuff. So you don't have to like cram them or put it in your head. So just know what they do and how they work, then you shouldn't have a problem. So you just press shift one or shift. Just make this exclamation mark shift one, then you press enter. So all of these are automatically generated for us. So now we have our body tag now. So this body tag I told you is what is going to be showing everything that we want to display in our website. So our first code, let's just say H1 and say welcome on stream. That's our first one. And now remember that we downloaded our extensions Lifesaver before. So what we use that Lifesaver to do is basically to display anything that we want. So Lifesaver basically carries all the information in our file and takes it to the browser for display. Do you understand? So it's basically the transportation that carries the information that are there and every update that we make from here to the browser so that people will be able to see it or will be able to debug it as a developer. So to use your Lifesaver, you can either right click on index or HTML here and open the Lifesaver, or you go live from here. So you just click one of these. So basically start the server and we now have it in this place. So you can see welcome on stream here. So this is basically how that works. So now let's continue with what we have. So this is basically everything. So now one of these edge tags now, one of these tags in the edge tag is this title tag. It basically gives a brief explanation of what that particular page is all about. So we have my first web page here in this example, but you can see that in this place we have document. And if we check what we just run now, what we just run in this place, this is welcome machine. If you look at this top, this is the title. You can see document. So that's basically the title of everything you're doing. And it's very important to always edit the title to match what exactly the information of that file holds. So since we are doing a HTML introduction, we can put introduction to HTML. And when we check that place for it, we should see it editing. You can see it edited introduction to HTML. So that's the title of that page. So now let's go into now. So we already talked about the templates. So we already talked about the different tags and what they do. So the first tag now, that's this one, doc tag HTML. That's the first thing that must always be there. It tells the browser that you're actually writing in HTML5 code. It must be the very first line, and it's not case sensitive, but use lowercase for conventional is what people use nowadays. Then we now have HTML language. So it basically tells that particular file that um, you're writing your code in English language. That's basically. Then we have the extension that holds the metadata. You understand? Then we have the body section that contains all visible content. This is where students will spend most of their stuff, and every time everything the user sees goes here. Sorry. Now let's go into our tags. So you have been hearing me saying tag a lot now. So what tag basically is this? So tag have two main parts. That's the opening tag and the closing tag. So this tag is this here. We have this H1 and this H1. So you can see now we have H1 here. That's the opening tag, and H1 here. That's the closing tag. The differences between the opening and closing tag is basically this back slash that we have here. The back slash is the differences. So So a self-closing tag exists, but we will use that later. So this is not the only types of tag that we use. Most of the tags actually come in opening and closing tag, but some tags come with just a self-closing tag. That means they don't have a closing tag. They only have just one tag that you use for both the opening and the closing. So you don't need to open it, write something in between, then close it. Do you understand? So those ones they come once. So examples of those ones we have the image tag, we have the which other tag again? We have the input tag. So all of those ones we'll be using them later, but just have it in mind that we don't only use opening and closing tag. We also have some tags that come as self-closing tags. So tags can be nested. That means most tags you can put them as a parent and put other tags within them. That's what we say nesting of tags. So when they say nesting of tags, this is an example here. So the fact that we have a body tag and H1 is within this body tag, that means you are nesting a tag. That means you are writing one tag in between another tag. That's what we call tag nesting. So it's acceptable in HTML. So proper indentation makes your code readable. That means you always make, you should always make your code orderly so that you will not have issues with reading them later. So we have the live demo that we already done. We already created our files. We don't need to go over that. So now our first tag that we're going to learn about today is the H1 tag. So there are 6 levels to it. So we have the H1 through to H6. So these are heading tags. They are basically used whenever you want to write a key topic or something big or elaborate in a website. Do you understand? Just a title about something, as the name implies, heading. So we use them a lot. So we have this H1 tag here. So we can have up to H6. So we just edit this H1 that I've copied down to H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So we have H1 to H6 in this place. So that's that. Then when we check out their displays, you see that they are displayed in different sizes. So we have H1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, maybe I did a mistake writing the sixth one. Okay, yeah. So H6. So you can see that H6 is the smallest out of all of them. So we have H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the heading tags. So we have 6 level and is the most important and the biggest by default. That's the H1 tag. And the H6 is the least important. That's the smallest of the heading tag. Use it for structure, not just by sizing. So sometimes you can see that the size of H1 here is the biggest, but you have come across websites where there are actually bigger texts than this. So we just use them mainly for structure so that our web will have structure, not that we'll be using different tags to do things they're not meant to do. So we know that okay, H1 is for writing our titles. So you can always edit the size later in our CSS. So that's what we are, and that's what we want us to understand in that. We know that bigger text than that. But that H1 there that is in that place now is basically there. It's just like a name that okay, oh, when somebody want to use a title tag, make sure you use H1 because it's the biggest tag that we have. So if you want the bigger size than that, you can always edit it. So best practice, only one H1 per page. That means per page that you're building anything, always use one H1 per page. Don't skip levels. That means don't go from H1 to H4. Think of them like a blog, like a book outline. H1, book title, H2, chapter titles, H3, section heading, and H4, subsection. So that's like different situations where you can use them. So depending on what you're actually building, that's what to now like influence how you want to use the H1. So we have already done the demo of all of this. So let's just do them and see how it actually works. So let me just copy this one that we have here. Then put it here for us to like see uh, an example of what we mean by that. So when we check this now, you can see welcome to my page. That's the biggest that is here. That's okay. We are saying welcome to my page. Then we now have about me. About me is like it's a a subsection of this welcome to my page. So I can write some things about me under it. Then my hobbies too, another thing, my skills too under. They will now have contact information. So all of them they are headings for things that are actually under. So we have not put any like thing under yet. That means we have not put any text under it. But we know that okay, this is actually different topics under the whole my page, you know, and this thing. Say welcome to my page. So let's say we are writing things under my page in this situation now. So we say about me. That means about me is going to have its own content. My hobbies to have its own content. My skills to have its own content. Yeah. Contact information too, the same thing. So you see that we now use each one for all of them all through. We are saying welcome to my page as the biggest because that's like the umbrella that's covering everything. Then H2 is smaller because it does not hold like as much information as what welcome to my page was. Welcome to my page is like the first thing that everybody is meant to see to have an idea of what's actually happening in the page. So let's continue. I'm guessing that we all understood what header tags do for us and how to use them. So now we now have the second one. Now we have the paragraph tags. So that's the P tag, and we have line breaks. So the P tag is this is a paragraph. It can contain multiple sentences and will display as a block of text with spacing above and below. So this is like an idea of what P tag always do for us. So in this case now that we have already written welcome to my page, let's say we want to write, okay, want to write something on that welcome to my page, you just put P tag like this, then we'll now write something on that. So what do you want to write? Okay, hello everyone. This is my page. I hope you find what you are looking for. So we have already given like a small background explanation of what is actually happening. So we have already written this now. Header. Then we have written a paragraph under this header. So we have written a paragraph under it. So that's that. So we'll come under this about me now and write something under about me again. So you can see how we are using all of these tags by to do specific work, you know. So under about me now, can I put another P tag? You can say I like to dance. I like to eat. I'm just seeing examples here. I don't really have something to talk about. I like to God. Another Peter, I want to make a difference in 2026. So these are examples of all of this. Then we now have, you can always do these things for like to the other subtopics that we have in all of this. So that's like an example of all of these things. So now that's that about the P tags that we have. So create, sorry. So Peter creates a paragraph. Browser adds the spacing automatically and each P tag starts on the new line. So whenever you have multiple P tags, so regardless of if you put a P tag here and copy it and put it beside this one, it's always going to appear on another line because we have block tags. So examples of block tags are the H1 tag, that's the heading tag, paragraph tag. Then we now have inline tags. So inline tags are tags that even if you have like three of them and you put them on the different lines or the same line, if you check your browser, they're always going to appear on the same line. So unlike block tags that even you put the tags in your code beside each other, they are going to appear on different lines. You can see. So they are block tags. So just take note of them. When we talk about inline tags, then you see examples of them. So now we have already done all these ones. So now we have line break. So line break is basically a tag we use to like break or beat this next line. So regardless of if it's the inline or block tag, for instance, now I put P tag I like to dance. If I press enter here in this P tag I like to dance, guess what will happen? Is it going to happen to be on the same line? It's not going to be on different line. So but if I want this thing to actually break to the next line. That means I like to be on one line and dance to be on another line. You can use break tag to break it. So you just put BR. That's a break tag. And when you check it, it's actually going to break to the next line for you. You can see it here. So that's that. So we have done break. Now let's see an example of all of these things together. So we have this about John page. We want to do an about for John. So let's clear all of this now. Then do something more structured and understandable. So we say, okay, the body tag. First off, we have the H1. So since that's the biggest thing, we want to write about John. So that's going to be what we have. So I have H1 now about John. So that's the topic of what we want to do. Then we now have introduction. So introduction is going to be in another tag, H2. So say introduction. Then we now start writing under introduction. So we have a P tag for that. So I'll just copy the text from here to avoid time wastage. So I have that. So we have that. So we now have another one here. I have been coding for 5 years and I enjoy learning new technologies. That's not true for me though. Not been coding for 5 years. So we have this H2, then the B1, the first paragraph and the second paragraph here. Then we now have the contact information. You know that we have already done the first header, introduction. Then the second, this one to contact. So put contact there at the second. So that's another subtopic. So we just say contact. So for contact to be there, you have to put in an H2. You say contact like this. Then we'll now write our contact under this contact subtopic. So we can always copy this one here. So see what we have here now. We have a P tag, but then with this BR in this place, they are not going to show on the same line or two. That means when we say okay, 1, 2, 3 Main Street is going to break down Lagos, Nigeria to break down there. So now write the email. Do you understand? So let me just give you a little context. So let's say we have street here, then we now have state, then we now have email. So it's not going to be like this. So if these BR tags were not here, all of this will just be on one line and it will not make sense. It will not make sense. The street, state, and email will be on one line. It will not make sense. So better to just have the BR tags, like separate them to different different lines. So this is basically a page that we have built for John with the little that we have learned in HTML with our header tags and content. So you can see that we have about John, introduction, and we now have the contacts in this place. So you can see a simple analogy of this the what we have learned. So you can always use other tags now. So those are like the first one we have learned. So now let's move on to learn other tags. So we have the B tag. So B tag is basically the bold tag. So use that one when you want to like make a text bolder than it used to be. So you just B or use strong. Some of them used to bold text. So you can see B and strong are used. But B is just for visuals, then strong indicates importance. Do you understand? Some of them still come out the same thing. So let's say we want to do example now, we'll do it for this street. We want to bold this street. So say B. Remember that we can nest our tags. So we just say street here, then control in this place. You can see street is now bolder than state and email. Street is bolder than state and bolder than email as well. So we now use strong for this one. So let's use strong in this place. So you can see that they come out the same way. So in case you want to bold your text anytime, you can always use either B tag or the strong tag. So we can also use italic as well. So if you want your text to come out in italic, there are two ways to do it as well. You can use the I tag or the EM tag. So two of them also do the same thing. So we are going to use this ones as example in this case. So you say I, then will copy this content here and place it in between the I tag. So when we check how it comes out, you can see that the 1 to 3 main street is now in italic. So you can use EM as well. So say EM and check it. So the same thing. It goes like that. So we have more examples. We have already done a lot. I've done examples on this one already, so we don't have to like do them again. So let's just move forward. So say we should add to our page. That's the page that we have already created for John. You can just use my favorite quotes, then put a p tag, then next an emphasis in between. That's for italic. The only way to get great is to do work. Then let me copy this one so we see how it comes out. So let me put it before the contact. Then we'll check it. So you can see my favorite quote. The only way to do a great work is to love what you do. You can see we have everything in italic, but when it came to this love, the love is bolder than the rest, and that's because of how that particular sentence or line of code is structured. So we have the P tag, then the EM inside it. Then within this sentence, we now wrapped love in strong. So that's that. I hope we are following. I hope we understand what's going on. Toby. Hope you are good. Oh yeah. Okay. So now we now have HTML comments. So sometimes when you are writing code, right, we always have a reason to always like describe what you're actually doing at that particular time, because you cannot always write code for, I mean, when you are building a website, you don't always do things that are small. A website are always big. That means when you're writing websites, the lines of code are always very much. And let's say you're working in a team, it's always advisable to like describe the work you're doing so that everybody is going to understand and be able to follow up with you. Even if you are not around, you're able to continue from where you actually stop. Do you agree? So to do a comment now, this is it. This is an example of a comment. Like this now, we are doing introduction. I mean, introduction and the about John page. So let's say we want to tell everybody in our team that okay, oh, this particular about John is the title of the this. So we write title like this. So we can either highlight, then press Control slash. You press Control slash, then it turns green. That means even though this particular title is within that body tag, that particular command I have pressed for that title is going to nullify the fact that what am I saying like this? So it's going to avoid this particular title from showing. Do you understand? So even though title was there before, like this now, without this comment, without this comment, you are going to see title up here. But then when I comment it, the title is going to disappear from there. So it is still within the body tag, but then it does not have the ability to be visible to the users. So that's basically the use of comments. So it's basically just useful for the developers that are working. So when you want to describe a particular step you are taking or step you have taken, so that's the way to do it. So we have title here. You can come back and say introduction. So it basically just comments it out for you. So even if you don't want to highlight everything, just put your cursor on that particular line and press Ctrl slash. It's going to like comment all the things that is in that line. You can also use it for debugging as well. So in a case whereby you want to like test something out, or you have been doing something for a while and the thing does not add up, or there is a error somewhere, you can basically comment some part of your code and see the issue. Like this, my favorite code. Now if I want to comment everything, I'll just highlight everything from here and press Ctrl slash, and everything comments out. Then if I check my browser, I'm not going to see that particular part of my code again. So that's the usefulness of a comment. So it's very useful and it's very advisable to use comments when working. It's even useful to yourself. Sometimes when you have written code for a very long time and you're trying to look for a particular part of your code, it's very easy to like navigate through your files and be able to like check for it easier because you will not have to like be looking for things that you're not lost. So that's how to comment. So we want to do a mini project before we end today's like stream. We have learned a lot today, even though it's not very much that well, but we have learned something that we can actually use to like start building with HTML. So let's just do a simple classwork. So the instructions that we have here, we are to make a personal profile page for ourselves. So create a simple personal profile page about yourself with a main heading with your name. So a main heading with my name. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to be using the same file. So I'll clear out all this information that we have here. So let's remember the things that we have learned today. So first off, we have to comment. So since they say we should make an heading with my name, I can just make a comment like this and write my name in it. Then come back down and then put H1. That's the main heading. Since the main heading, that means that's to be H1. And I say my what is my name? Ayomide Shodayo. So that's like the main heading. Let's also do it by ourselves. Oh. Let's follow up. Then a tagline or short description with emphasis. So a short description with emphasis, like a description about myself. So let's say description. So a tagline. So I put P. Since they say description, so P. Then I say with emphasis. So within that P, put the EM tag. Then I say I like to play football. So that's the description about myself that I've written. So the next command, then an about me section. Since an about me section is not going to carry the same size as my name has already done before. So we just put each two. You now say about me section. Then I say my interest or hobbies section. Another H2, my interests. Yeah. Interests. So all of this about me section, we are going to have P tags for all of the about, all the information that I have about me. And also for my interests, we have a P tag there too. So a contact section with your email and location. So you can see the tags. The tags that you're going to use is already here for you. So they say H2 plus P plus BR. That means you have to use H2 for the title, P for the content of your contacts, then BR to make them break to the next line. So that's what we do here. So about me now, let me just say I like to watch movies and sleep in my free free time. Then in my interest, I love to write code and develop every day. So that's my interest and that's my about here. So for contacts, we have another H2 here. So we have P, you have the address. So we are going to bold this address with the bold tag that we learned. So we just copy this that we have, then we paste it here. Then we now write our address here. So let's say address, let's say number 123 Main Street. So that is that. Then we now just come out like this. I want to do the next one. Say B again, email address. So Midday55@gmail.com. So another D tag. What else should we put here under our contact? I think that is enough. So that's that on that. So we have basically followed all the commands that we that we have there. They say we should use strong to emphasize important words. We use B, but they see the same thing. And they say we should use comments to organize our sections. So we use comments for description. So we should use comments about interests, then contacts. So that's basically our classwork here. So I feel like with this, you should be on the right track with us. So, Toby, I hope you also did it. Okay, 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 okay. So maybe I'm going to share a screenshot of the stuff that's the classwork and also the assignment because there's going to be an assignment. So we have already done all of this. So let's not come back to this. So let's just remind ourselves everything that we did today. First off, we talked about HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Then the second one, what's the difference between strong and bold? So basically, strong is basically used for structure. Do you understand? They do the same work, but then when you use strong, it denotes importance. That means the thing that you're writing there is actually important. But B, you write it there just to view, like, okay, yes, the thing is bold. Do you understand? Just for visuals. The B is just for visuals, where the strong is for importance. And why do we comment? We use comment to just describe the step we are taking or the step we are about to take. Then what goes in the head and versus the body tag? The head just basically contain information that's going to guide the browser how to display whatever you have in that particular file. While the body tag basically contains everything that the user is meant to see. So that's basically the questions that we have here. Just to recap on everything that we have done today, basically. So we also learned tags like the header tag, the paragraph tag, the strong, the emphasis tag, the break tag, and other tags that we're going to be learning later will be talked about in our next class. So this is like the simple thing we are supposed to do for ourselves, by ourselves, in preparation for the next class. I'm going to be screenshotting this and posting it on our YouTube channel. So in case you have not done it, you can always go back there, or you not like get the information, you can always go back there and check the assignment. So let me just make the screenshot now. Let me just screen. So I'll be sharing this as a post for us to do. So a bonus challenge, you can also write about multiple hobbies with proper heading hierarchy, add a fun fact section, include a quote about your hobby using the emphasis. So that's basically all about today's class. And I hope you all learned something today. Do anybody have a question? Toby, do you have any question? Toby, do you have any question? Regards what you have done. Okay, okay, okay. So that's basically all for today. We meet again on Friday. So do well to like and subscribe. Thank you.